Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing great. This is Sakshi Saxena, GDSE Technical Team Member and your Google Cloud Facilitator. I welcome you all to our second Cloud Study Jam for the 30 days of Google Cloud program. If you haven't watched our first Cloud Study Jam session 1, then head over to the link tree of GDSE Banasley Vidyapeeth first tab and you'll get the link here. So now let's move on with our Cloud Study Jam session 2. So today we'll be covering some of the labs in track 1 for you to get more skill badges. For that you need to click on the second tab and go to the program syllabus. We'll be covering up the third skill badge today, and let's take up the first lab, Cloud IAM Quick Start. Now what we are going to do is start the lab by clicking on the green Start Lab button. But before that, let's see what we are going to do in this lab. So Google Cloud Identity and Access Management Service lets you create and manage permissions for Google Cloud resources. Cloud IAM unifies access control for Google Cloud services into a single system and provides a consistent set of operations. In this hands-on lab, you'll learn how to assign a role to a second user and remove the assigned roles associated with Cloud IAM. So now, for that we need to set up 2 users in this lab. Before that you were only having one username that you were using to complete all your labs. But now in this particular lab you'll be having 2 usernames. So as mentioned earlier, this lab provides 2 sets of credentials to illustrate IAM policies and what permissions are available for the specific roles. So now it's time to sign in your first username. So we'll start the lab and see what's there. We'll verify that we're not robots and we're actually humans. So now we have clicked on the Open Google Console button. Then we are here. Now we need to open the Google Console. We'll use the first username and sign up here. Use the password. Click on next and accept. Now we are here with our first username. So you need to be very sure which is your first username GCP platform and which is your second username GCP platform. So now we are going to open the Google Console once again. So I'll be moving this tab towards the right so that I'm sure that the first tab is of username 1 and the second tab is for the username 2. I'll copy the username 2 and paste it over here, and next I'm going to copy the password and paste it over here. To avoid confusions, you can do this way, like you can make the first tab as your username 1 and your second tab as the username 2. We are all done with signing with the Google Cloud Console. Now you can also check whether this tab is your username 1 or username 2 by following this particular method. Click on the right side, top right on your account and see if the ID matches your username 1. So my ID is student04853 student 088532. So that means the first tab is for username 1 and the second tab is for username 2. Now let's see what we need to do next. The IAM console and project level rules. So return to the username 1 Cloud Console page and select the navigation menu, then select the IAM and admin and then select IAM. So the third tab on my taskbar, on the tab page, is the first username that I'm going to opt for. Now let's head over to the navigation menu. This is the navigation menu. Next we have to go to the IAM and admin. So here is the IAM and admin, and in that we have to select IAM. Now you are in the IAM and admin console. We'll click on to the plus add button at the top of the page and explore the project roles associated with that. By clicking a select a role drop down. Okay. So we can see that these are the table signifies the role name and the permissions that have been allotted. So for the viewer roles, the permissions are for only read-only actions that do not affect the state, such as viewing and or the existing resources or data. For the editor roles, you have all the permissions plus the permissions for actions that modify the state of the role existing resource. The owner permission allows you to manage roles and permissions as well as to set up billings for the projects. The browser or the beta role signifies that you have read access to the browser, the hierarchy for the project, including the folder organization and IAM policy. Now we need to click cancel to exit of the add principal project. You click on cancel over here. Now explore the editor roles for the username too. We'll be doing that by using the second tab, going to the IAM and admin panel and then selecting the IAM. Let's see what we need to do next. Search through the table to find username 1 and username 2 and examines the roles that they have granted. You should see something like this. So our first username is 853. Let's remember by this. 853 is the first and 5AE is the second one. Let's scroll down. 853 is the first and 5AE is the second. Means the last one is our first username and the second last one is our second username to avoid the confusion. Now you should see username 2 has the viewer role granted to you. Okay, we only have the viewer role granted to the username 2. The add button at the top is grayed out. If you try to click on it, you'll get the following message. Here we cannot add it because as it says, you need permission for this action. So this one example of how IAM roles affect what you can and what you cannot do in the Google Cloud Console. That means you can manage the username 2 from the username 1, but you cannot manage the username 2 from the username 2 only. Prepare a resource for accessing and testing. Ensure that you are in the username 1 of the Cloud Console. Let's go back to the 1. Now we need to create a bucket. So for that we need to move to the navigation menu, then to the cloud storage and then to the browser. So let's see where's the cloud storage. And now we need to select the browser. You're on the browser. Now I'll create bucket. We'll update the properties. The name has to be globally unique. So you can create it by yourself and we'll click on continue then. So let's suppose I'll give the username as GDSC and we'll select the location type as multi-region. Always remember what name your bucket has because you need to use it in your further steps. So name your bucket the name that I can actually remember. Do not name it something abrupt that you forget by moving further in the steps. Now we'll use create button to create the bucket. Here also it says that note the bucket name, you'll use it in the later steps. So now if you get a permission error for the bucket creation, sign out and then sign in back with the username credentials 1. That means if you're facing any issues while creating this bucket, you need to sign out of this Google Cloud Console and again you can sign back in using the username 1. Now we'll upload a sample file. On the bucket details page, click upload files button. Here is the upload file button and we'll click on that. Okay. Browse to your computer to find a file to use. Any text or HTML file will do. Okay, so we need to create an HTML file, so we can just simply open a notepad, maybe a notepad will work. Simply write hello or anything you like and type this Sakshi and save this file. Write something in your notepad and just save the file. Save it where you can actually use it. So I'll be saving it on my desktop with the name sample.txt. Now we need to add this file. So now it says that browse your computer to find a file. Any textual or HTML file will do. So on this bucket file, we'll need to upload the file. So I created this file called sample file. We'll open this and let it get uploaded. It has been uploaded now. Let's see what we need to do next. Click on the three dots at the end of the line containing the file and click on rename. Click on these three dots that are on the end and we have to name it as sample.txt. So we'll edit here and make it sample.txt and rename it. Now let's see if the rename has been done and we have created a bucket and subsequently uploaded a file. Check your progress here. There's a green tick, that means we have successfully created a bucket and uploaded a sample file there. Now verify the project viewer access. Switch to the username to console. From the console, select navigation menu, cloud storage and browser. Verify that this user can see the bucket. So now we'll move on to the username 2 and see if we are able to see this bucket or not. We'll move on to the cloud storage and let's see if we are able to see this. Yes, okay, we are able to see this JDSC file, the folder that the bucket we have created, and this bucket has our file sample.txt. So now the username too has the viewer role prescribed, which allows them to read only actions. That means we cannot make changes in the username too, as we can do in the first username, because this username has all your actions that has been required, but the username too has only the viewer action. So now remove the project access. Switch to the username 1 and we'll remove the project viewer for the username 2. If now we are going to remove the project viewer 2 for the username 2, that means the username 2 cannot see our project. Now for that we need to go back to the IAM and admin and to IAM. Now remove the project viewer access for username 2 by clicking the trash icon next to the role name and then click save. Remember to check your username and then delete it, because otherwise you might affect some of the things in the GCP platform and you will not be able to move further. So my second username is 5AE. So what we need to do is click on the trash icon and click on save. This is the 5AE. I'll click on the pencil icon. Okay, so I need to click on this checkbox and then I'll select the trash icon. Next to the role name and click save. Okay, we'll delete the role from here by clicking on this trash icon. We'll click on this trash icon. The role has been deleted. Now we'll click on save. Now you can see the second username has been removed from here. Notice that the user has disappeared from the list. The user now has no access. Verify that the username 2 has lost its access. Switch to the username 2 cloud console. Ensure that you're still signed in with the username credentials 2 and you haven't been signed off the project after permissions were revoked. If signed out, sign in back with the proper credentials. That means now some of you might have faced this issue that after deleting it from the first username you have been signed out. No worries, you can still sign back in and check if you are still here. Now navigate to the navigation menu, cloud storage and the browser. We are still here, but we'll still do it to refresh the page and to get you an idea what we are following. Now let's check to verify our progress if we have done everything correctly or not. Okay, so now we have successfully removed the project access from the username 2. Now we need to add storage permissions. Copy the username 2 from the Quick Labs connection panel. We'll copy the username 2 from here in the connections panel and switch to the username 1 console. In the console, navigate to the navigation menu, IAM and admin and then IAM. Okay, we are still here. Click on add button and paste the username 2 into the new principals field. We'll add it and we'll paste this username in the principals field. In the selector role, select cloud storage and then storage object viewer. We'll select cloud storage from here. You can select. Okay, you can go down and select cloud storage. Here is cloud storage, and then we need to select storage object viewer. Okay, so in cloud storage we have storage object viewer. So we have selected this storage object viewer from the drop down menu, and now we'll click on save. So now as you can see, the viewer permission have been changed to storage object viewer. Now we'll verify the access by going on to the username 2 console. So the username 2 doesn't have the project viewer role, so that the users cannot see the project or any of its resources in the console. Now we'll click on the active cloud shell icon to open the cloud shell command line and open up our bucket. So we'll go back to the cloud to the username 2 and activate our cloud shell. And we'll open up a cloud shell session and then enter the following command. Replace your bucket name with the name of the bucket you created earlier. Okay, let's click on continue. In the second, remember to follow the usernames that have been defined in the documentation. Read it very carefully and then follow the steps. Otherwise you'll do some blunder and then you will. So now we have copied this first command and we'll paste it over here. Remember to remove the your bucket name from here and type your own bucket name that you have been created earlier. I named my bucket as GDSC, so I'll type it here and press enter. Authorize it. Now we should get this similar output that says something like this. We got the similar output that says that GDSC : our bucket name /sample.txt. That means everything has been fine up till now. Now we can check our progress, that we have added the required storage permissions. So okay, we have successfully completed this also. As you can see that the username to view access has the cloud storage bucket now. Also, we have completed this lab, so yeah, now you're going to see the 100 on 100 credits over here. That means we are done with this lab and we can now end it. So to end the lab, we need to click on end lab. This will ask you that you have already saved everything that, and now we are going to finally end this lab. So if you're sure, just submit it. We'll give a rating to this lab and click on submit again. Congratulations, finally we have completed the first lab of this session 2. Thank you so much for watching. Now we'll move on to the second lab that we'll be covering. We'll be covering today the third skill badge, managing deployments using Kubernetes Engine, since a lot of you requested this video. So now we are on this page. So you need to firstly sign in with your QuickLabs account that you have registered in the form. We'll sign with Google. You need to enter your email ID and then click on next. Enter your password. Oh. And then move ahead. So now you're ready to start your lab. So before starting your lab, you need to learn about what we are going to do in this lab. So the overview is that you'll be covering the DevOps practices that will make the use of multiple deployments to manage application deployment scenarios like continuous deployment, blue-green deployment, canary deployments, and more. You learn and practice about the Kubectl tools, create deployment using YAML files, launch, update, and scale deployments, practice with updating deployments and deployment styles. So now, what are the deployments? The heterogeneous developments typically involve connecting two or more distinct infrastructure environments or regions to address a specific technical or operational need. Heterogeneous developments are called hybrid, multi-cloud, or private cloud, depending upon the specifics of their deployment. For the purpose of this lab, heterogeneous development includes those that span regions within a single cloud environment, multiple public cloud environments, or a combination of on-premises and public cloud environments, hybrid or public-private. So the three common scenarios for heterogeneous development are multi-cloud deployments, fronting on-premises data, and continuous integration / continuous delivery process, that is CI/CD process. So now it's time to start our labs. To start our labs, we need to click on the green button that is on the left side of the panel. We'll click on this, prove that we are not robots. And we'll start with our subscription. It might take some time as per your internet connection, so kindly wait and do not end the lab. So now we're going to click on this Open Google Console and click on Next. Come back to the previous tab, as you can see, and copy the password and we'll paste it over here and then click on Next. So now we are on the GCP platform. So now what we need to do is go back to the previous tab and follow the instructions very carefully. So now we are over here. You can view the menu with a list of Google Cloud products and services by clicking the navigation menu at the top. Now what we need to do is, firstly we need to activate our Google Cloud Shell. So Cloud Shell is a virtual machine that is loaded with development tools. It offers a persistent 5 GB home directory and runs with the cloud. Cloud Shell provides command line access to your Google Cloud resources. So now we need to click on the Activate Cloud Shell button and then we'll click on the Continue button. Click on the Activate Cloud Shell button on the GCP navigation bar. Now we need to list the active account names with this command. So we can copy this command and see what are the active account names that have been listed. Click Authorize and you can see that my student ID is active over here. Now let's see what is the project ID. You can always list your project ID if you want to see with this command, that is gcloud config list project. We'll come back and paste it over here and we can see our project ID. This project ID is very unique and it matches to what is present on your left side. Now for the zone, set your working Google Cloud zone by running the following command, substituting the local zone as US Central 1A. That means you'll be using the zone US Central 1A. Copy it and you can paste it over here to select your zone. So now our current zone is US Central 1A. So now to get started with this lab, we need to have a sample code for creating and running the containers and for the deployments. So for that we'll copy this command, that is gsutil -mcp, and come here and paste it. As I said, this might take some time depending on your internet connection, so kindly be patient. Okay, our sample code is here with us. So now we can move to create a cluster with 5 N1 standard 1 nodes. As it says, this will take a few minutes to complete, so you need to be patient. We'll come back and copy this command. Cluster creating always takes some time. When you delete a cluster, then also it is going to take a time. So basically, a Kubernetes cluster is a set of nodes that run containerized applications. Containerized applications packages an app with its dependencies and some necessary services. It always allows to run across multiple machines and environments, may it be virtual, physical, cloud-based, or on-premises. Also, one thing I would like to tell you that the Kubernetes containers are not restricted to a specific operating system. That means, unlike virtual machines, instead they're able to share operating systems and run anywhere. There are several ways by which you can create a Kubernetes cluster. You can create and deploy a Kubernetes cluster on either a physical or a virtual machine. Uh, the Kubernetes clusters initially can be created using Minikube. Minikube is an open source tool that is compatible with the Linux, Mac, and Windows operating systems and can be used to create and deploy a simple streamlined cluster that only contains one worker node. This cluster creation might take some time as compared uh, to your network connection. So you need to be quick with other steps so that you have sufficient amount of time when you are creating a cluster so that it does not hamper your progress. So now our cluster has been created. So let's see what we have to do next. Learn about the deployment object. Let's get started with deployments. So now the explain command in the kubectl can tell us about the deployment object. So let's see what this command does. We can also see all the fields using the recursive option. So let's see what this does. Okay. So now you can use the explain command as you go through the lab to help you understand the structure of a deployment object and understand what the individual fields do. So let's see. Copy this command and we'll paste it over here. So it gives you a description about what is happening. We'll come back and create a deployment now. So now we are going to update the deployments slash auth.yaml file. We'll come back to the shell and paste this command. Now, to start the editor, you can always expand it if you need. Now, what we need to do is start the editor by pressing I. Most of the students are missing this command and hence they are not able to edit the Cloud Shell. So you need to use I to edit your shell. Now we need to change the image in the container section of the deployment to the following. So let's see what's there. Okay, so here I'll start the editor by pressing I. So it says insert. Now we see that the image has 2.0.0. So we're going to edit it to 1.0.0. So come back here and move to the right and make this 2 as 1. Now so let's see what we need to do. To save the odd.yaml file, we need to press escape and then type :wq. We will press escape and now we'll type :wq and press enter. So we are back to the shell now. Now you can create a simple deployment, and now you can see what are the contents in your deployments / odd.yaml file by using this command. Paste it over here. So you are going to see that the image has 1.0.0. That means we have successfully changed it. We are going to see the same command. Now we are going to go ahead and create a deployment object using the kubectl create command. We'll simply copy this command and paste it over here, and let's see what happens. The deployment.apps/auth has been created. That means when you run this kubectl create command to create the auth deployment, it will make one pod that conforms to the data in the deployment manifest. This means we can scale the number of pods by changing the number specified in the replicas field. So now once you have created the deployment, you can verify that it was created. Simply click on this command and let's check if it was created or not. We have 1 on 1 here, that means it has been created. Now we should see a replica set with a name like auth this, and we are able to see it. So now finally we can view the pods that were created as part of our deployment. The single pod is created by the Kubernetes with the replica set is created. Let's check if we can see the pods. Paste the command and see that is running. It is time to now create a service for all the deployment. So for that we'll be using the kubectl create command to create the auth service. Copy this command and see if the service gets created. The service /auth has been created. Now we'll do the same thing to create and expose the hello deployment server. Copy this and let's see if it works. Both have been created. As you can see, the deployment.apps hello has been created by this command with kubectl create -f deployment /hello.yaml command, and the service /hello has been created by this command. So now one more time we are going to expose to the front-end deployment. For that you need to copy this command and run it here. The front-end services have also been created, as you can see here. Now we need to interact with the front-end by grabbing its external IP and then curling into it. Let's copy this and paste it over here. As you can see, the external IP is pending. So now you need to populate this command by running it a few times so that you can see the external IP. We'll again paste it over here. The external IP is still not here. We'll again paste it over here in intervals of 2 or 3 seconds. So now finally we are having our external IP. Now let's see what we need to do here. We need to copy this command and paste the external IP in the place of the external IP. Remember to remove these brackets. Copy this external IP very carefully, leaving no leading or trailing spaces. The IP has been copied. So now you're going to paste it over here and enter. So the message says hello. Also you get the hello response back. That means we have done everything correctly up till now. Now you can also use the output templating feature of Kubectl to use curl as a one-liner. So now let me copy this command and test over here. Again we are getting the same message hello. That means we have done everything correctly and it's time to check our progress. So let's check that we have created a Kubernetes cluster and deployments. We have successfully created a cluster now and we are ready to move on to the next step. So now let's scale a deployment. Now that we have a deployment created, we can scale it. Do this by updating the spec.replicas field. So now we'll copy this command and come back here and paste it over here. Let's see what we need to do next. The replicas field can be most easily updated using the kubectl scale command. We'll copy this command and update it. So now as you can see, the deployments.apps/hello has been scaled. After the deployment is updated, Kubernetes will automatically update the associated replicas and start new pods to make the total number of pods equal to 5. Now let's see if we have the verified pods as 5 in number by running the following command. Perfect. We have a 5 pods running. Now scale back the application. To scale back the application, we have to run this kubectl scale deployment hello -- replicas equals to 3 command. We'll paste this. Now the apps.hello deployment has been scaled. Now that we need to verify again that we have the current number of pods and no pods were left during the scale creation. Okay. Now we have 3 number of pods as we have changed it to 3. Now to update our deployments, we need to run this following command. Copy this command and see. Now change the image in the container section of the deployment to the following. Now we need to again change the image to 2.0.0 from 1.0.0. So we'll again come back and see the image. Where is the image? To start the editor, we need to use I. So I'll be pressing I so that we can edit from the editor. I'll remove the 1 and paste 2 over here. And then let's see what we need to do. We need to save and exit. For saving, we need to press escape and then put colon and write WQ and press enter. So now we are over here, and now once you save out of the editor, the updated deployment will be saved to your cluster and the Kubernetes will begin a rolling update. So now to see the new replica set that Kubernetes create, we'll copy this command and paste it over here. And you can also see a new entry in the rollout history. So we'll copy this and we'll also paste it here. We'll again paste it to check if any changes are there. Okay. Now pause the rolling update. If you detect problems running at a rolling pause it to stop the update. Give that try now. So we'll copy this out and paste it here if you're facing any errors. We now will verify the current state of the rollout by using the next command. So as you can see, the deployment hello successfully has been rolled out. So also you can now verify this on the pods directly. Copy this command and check if the pods has been successfully rolled out. Okay. Now how to resume a rolling update? We'll copy this rollout command. We can continue the rollout command using the resume command only. So we'll copy this and paste it over here and see. The command has been resumed. What we paused here. We paused the rolling update. So now we have resumed that rolling update again. When the rollout is complete, you should see the following when running the status command. Let's run the status command and see if we get to see this output. We are having the similar command. That means we are all good up till here, and we are ready to move on to the next step, that is to roll back and update. So now assume that a bug was created in a new version. Since the new version is pre-assumed to have problems, any user connected to the new pods will experience those issues. So now you want to roll back to the previous version so you can investigate and then release a version that is fixed properly. Use the rollout command to roll back to the previous version. We'll copy this command to roll out back to the previous version and paste it over here. We're back. So now verify the rollback history that we have successfully moved back. We have successfully moved back to the previous history, and now we can verify the pods have rolled back to their previous versions. So we can use this command to check. Now coming back to the canary deployments. For the canary deployments, we'll be using this command to list the file in the hello.canary.yaml. The cat is usually written to list out all the data on the particular file. Now to create the canary deployment, we'll copy this and we'll paste it over here. The canary deployment has been created. After the canary deployment is created, you should have two deployments, hello and hello canary. Verify it with the kubectl commands. We'll copy this and see if we are having hello and hello canary as well. Okay, so we are having hello here and we are also having hello.canary. That means we are good to move on. Now on the hello service, the selector uses the app hello selector, which will match pods in both the prod deployment and canary deployment. However, because the canary deployment has a fewer number of pods, it will be visible to fewer users. Now let's see if we can verify the canary deployment by this particular command. Here we are on the version 1.0.1. So now run the several times and you should see that some of the requests are served by hello 1.0.0 and a small subset 1 by 4 equals 25% that's being served as 2.0.0. Now let's see if our canary deployment was successful by clicking on check my progress. The deployment was successful and we have got a 100 on 100 score over here. That means on the top right corner, that means we are good to go and we can successfully end this lab as this has been completed with a good score. So now we are going to end this lab by clicking on the red button on the left panel. It asks you that if you're all done and you are sure to end this lab, you'll click on submit, give a rating to this lab and submit again. So now we have done this. So when we go back on the program syllabus and check that if we have got a green tick or not, you can see whether you have completed or not by going back to the tasks. To check if you have successfully completed or not, come back to the previous page and see if there's a green tick over here on the lab which you have completed just now. I completed managing deployments using Kubernetes lab, so I have a green tick over here. If you have this green tick, that means you are ready to move on to the next labs and complete your other skill badges. You need not to complete the similar labs that have already a green tick. So I hope you all enjoyed this session. If you have any queries or need any guidance, you can reach out to me at 6 p.m. today in the evening. The link for the meet you'll get in the live chat of the particular session that we are on. So we'll meet again on next Tuesday with another hands-on lab. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.